don't even have a solar for it. Well, actually, you want that. What? I know. I have some. I don't know. Well, it's on my phone whenever they do this.
Okay. So we're going to do inverse norm, which is going backwards from normal CDF. So if I'm asking you, write this down here. If asked for percentage, that's normal CDF. That's the stuff we've been doing the last couple of days. What percent of the data is above this, between this, below this? Find the percentile. That's asking you for the percentage also. If you're given the percentage, you got to go the other direction. That's inverse norm. It's like INV norm in your calculator. I think. Yeah. So that's inverse norm. It's saying like the opposite of normal CDF, basically. If I give you the percentage, you use normal CDF. No, I'm sorry. If I ask you for the percentage, you use normal CDF. If I give you the percentage, you use inverse norm. So, and then this is, I don't know if this makes sense or not, but if I want like the 85th percentile, I put the dot there because you put the percentage in as a decimal. So if I give you 60%, let's say you put 0.6 there. So I'm trying to put that dot there to remind you of the decimal. I don't know if it makes sense or not. And then you can do two ways, kind of the same as normal CDF. If you don't tell the calculator the mean and standard deviation, it's just going to use z-score. It's like, I don't know the mean and standard deviation, but here's the z-score that you can find it yourself. And if you know the mean and standard deviation, you can type it in, then it'll give you the actual raw score. So here's two examples. If I said inverse norm of 0.85, that'll tell me z equals 1.03, and it gives me that z-score. So that would be 85% of the data is at one standard deviation, basically, or lower. If I had the mean and standard deviation with it, then it would tell me, okay, 85% of the data is below 12.07. So let's type those two in to make sure you get the same answer as I am. So go second district, like it's right below normal CDF. So go like you were going to normal CDF. That's the third one. Trevor was done with the like a month ago. Yeah. So the left, center, and right? Yeah. Left. So for the first one, like if you don't know the mean and standard deviation, you just put 0 and 1, it's like the default. So go ahead and enter on that and make sure that you get 1.03. If you did not get 1.03, let me know. When you hit left, did that work? Did you get 1.03? Okay. Anybody have any issues? Get up, walk around, check it out. You look like you're good. Okay. And then make sure you can do it with the mean and standard deviation also. So if you have this menu, you put in 10 and 2. If you don't have the menu, you're just kind of typing it out, just like that. And then make sure you get 12.07. Y'all get 12.07?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So let's start doing some problems. Whose phone is that, man? You don't know? You guys on silence phone? Ever heard of that feature?
I don't think it's mine.
I've got like a school mode. I got a 12-year-old. Yeah. z-score of the 45th percentile. So if I'm just looking for the z-score, what am I going to use for my mean and standard deviation? You don't need it. So some of you like literally don't have to type it in. Like if you don't have the menu, you can literally just type in that. If you do have the menu, or if you want to type, you can go 0 and 1. So I get negative 0.126 when I type in either one of those. Why'd you say? Can I give you some advice? It's gonna be don't be stupid.
That's really hard to do.
That's the best I got. Are we good? Everybody getting negative 1.126? Okay. Find the raw score. So the difference here is, so there's two ways you can find the raw score. If you know the z-score, you know the mean, and you know the standard deviation, you've got that formula, right? You could throw everything in there and find the raw score, but it's a heck of a lot shorter to make the calculator do it. You're like, hey, find the 45th percentile. Oh, by the way, the mean's 100, the standard deviation's 15. You do the work because I don't want to. You get your calculator on every test in here. You get your calculator on the whole AP test. The better you, the more familiar you are with the calculator, it's super helpful. So this comes out to 98.16. Again, always think about, does your answer make sense? The mean is 100. What percent of data is below the mean? 50. Well, I'm saying 45th percentile. So I want a little less than half the data. So shouldn't I be a little bit to the left of the mean? So it makes sense. Like if you got 110 here, that wouldn't make sense. Just gotta keep in mind, like, look at your chart and reason through it, make sure it makes sense. And you can't prove it's correct, but at least you can be like, yeah, that makes sense. It's not horribly wrong. Find the z-score of Q3. So I'm bringing back chapter 1 a little bit here. What percent of the data is below Q3? 75%. So I'm giving you a percent here. I'm just doing it in a jerky way. So the z-score of Q3 would be inverse norm 0.75, or if you got to put the 0 and the 1, either way. So 0.67. On the raw score of Q3, well, again, I'm giving you a percent here. It just doesn't look like it. But when I say Q3, that is giving you a percent. When you are given a percent, you're using inverse norm. So try to keep in mind, stop for a second. I think this class is pretty easy on a not pretty easy, I don't want to say it that way. It's much easier on a day-to-day basis. Like when all we did was that z-score formula, you guys crushed it. When all we did was the normal CDF, you guys crushed it. When all we do is this, you guys are going to crush it. When I start mixing them up, that's when it gets a little bit tougher. So try to keep in mind, not just like blindly, this is what we're doing today. I'm just going to keep doing it. Like, why are we doing it? We're doing this because I gave you the percent. Whenever I give you the percent, it's inverse norm. Try as much as you can to like pretend that it's not just like, here's what we're doing on every problem today. And then that's what a review is, basically. It's like I mix them all up and let's make sure we know what to do when. So inverse norm. 0.75, and then I can find the raw score two ways. I could take this, throw it in my formula, and do a bunch of work, or be lazy. It's not just lazy; it's like I'm way more likely to screw up than the calculator is. So I'd rather do it that way. So 110, going like 1.2. If the middle is 100, is it reasonable that 75% of the data is below 110? Sure. If I got like 80 here. Reasonable that 75% of the data is below 80? No. So just use that as a way to check. Find the IQR. So the IQR, you want to do Q3, which we just found, minus Q1. There's two ways you can find Q1, actually. Q3 is 1, let's just say 110. Well, everything's symmetric in a normal curve. So if the middle's 100, Q3 is 110. What does Q1 have to be? It's got to be 90. It's going to be the same distance away because 75% and 25% are the same distance away from the middle, right? So if you're 10 away this way to get to 110, you're going to be 10 away this way to get to 90. Or go ahead and type in inverse norm of 0.25. I know I'm rounding a little bit, but it's essentially 90, right? And then 1 10 minus 90. Your IPR would be 20-ish. It's a little more because again, I'm rounding some, but. Is that okay? Go ahead and try F and G without me saying anything. That's what you should be typing in. I'm not typing the mean and standard deviation here because I'm just looking for a z-score. Like a negative 1.28. It makes sense to me that the 10th percentile is pretty low, so my z-score should be negative because I should be like to the left of the mean. The raw score of the 95th percentile. So I'm thinking this number needs to be bigger than 100, right? 95% of the data needs to be below it, so it better be bigger than the median or bigger than the middle. So this comes out to 124.67. Those two okay? Again, this is huge. It doesn't seem like it today because I haven't started mixing these problems up yet. But I will. So if you're asked for the percentage, normal CDF finds percentage. How can we make that? Normal CD finds F for find. You're given the percentage inverse norm. Try A and B on the back. In what units? Oh, so raw for both. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Because you couldn't like say
Yeah. Yeah. Try A and B. If you want to try C and D, go for it. I'll talk through them though. They're a little bit different. let me talk about A. There's a couple ways to do it. There's kind of shortcuts you can take, but if you don't take them, it's fine. So Q3, you kind of got to go through and do it. Find out what the raw score is there, where 75% is below. It should be bigger than the mean, because I want 75% below. It is. Doesn't guarantee that it's right, but it means probably on the right track. And then you could do this without finding Q1, actually. So you can find Q1 the same way and subtract them. But I could say, okay, well, how far away is Q3 from the mean? It's 3.37. So how far away is Q1 going to be from the mean? 3.37. And then the IQR is just adding those two numbers up. So that's like a kind of shortcut way around it. If that makes sense and is easier to you, great. If it doesn't, you're good. Question on it? B, how far apart are the 10th and 90th percentile? So I could do kind of the same deal. But I'm going to go inverse norm 0.9. And then 21 and 5, and I get 27.4. So again, I could go, okay, well that's 6.4 away from the mean. So 10th percentile is going to be 6.4 away on the other side. Add those two up, and your answer is going to be 12.8. Or work it through. Shortcuts only, or shortcuts that help you. They don't help you. Not any good. So that's 10%. So if I subtract those two, you get 12.8. How many have 12.8 there? Okay. How many had 12.8? Okay. Am I mumbling? I mumble sometimes. You can yell at me if I mumble. Alright, C and D are backwards. So your calculator doesn't know how to think in like percent above. It only knows how to think in percent below. So whenever I ask you, or the AP test asks you percent of scores that are higher, you can't think about the problem that way. You kind of have to cross that off and say, well, if 25% of the scores are lower, what percent are higher? I mean, what percent are lower? 75. And then do the problem with that. Your calculator, if you put in 0.25, it's going to tell you the 25th percentile. But if I'm saying 25% of the scores are higher, I'm saying I want to know this spot right here. Your calculator doesn't know how to do this. You kind of got to flip the problem around and be like, okay, what you're really asking me is what number is 75% below. Do that. So you're going to go inverse norm 0.75, which we already have, right? Did that in part A, that's 24.37. So you just gotta understand, if it says higher, you can't do that problem. So you gotta switch the problem to lower. So do part 2D. And if you forget to flip it, this is where kind of like thinking through your answer makes sense. Top 15% of scores should be up here. The mean is 21. Well, if I forget to flip it, I get 15.8. So you're saying the mean's 21, but the top 15% of scores are above 15.8. Like, that doesn't jive. It doesn't make sense. So hopefully you would think through that and be like, okay, wait, I screwed something out. Oh, I have to flip it. You should be putting 0.85 here, which gives you 26.18. How many had 26.18? Alright. Questions on this at all? Alright, so this is your first attempt at like kind of putting it all together. So I've got mean, standard deviation, X bar, Z-score, percentile, and sketch. If I give you, I gave you like 2 or 3 for each one, you gotta be able to go back and forth. thing. So I'm gonna put like the first page of the answers on Schoology, so you can kind of check to make sure you do it right on the right track. And then this is something that I need turned in to start working the book, so you're eligible for recovery. This.
Yeah, I see it.
Just this. Not that. Just this. What are you asking about that? That's not exactly. Did I say it was gonna be? Yeah, but that's what are you mad that you did the extra work, Peter? Nobody really nodded their head when I said this is a checkbook. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, not at all. Well, when is it due?
Before the test. Test is probably Friday. Not right now. Yeah, get out. Put your stuff away. Let's go. So again, I'll put the front page answers on Schoology. I'm kind of helping you get started. You can check it. But I can't put the whole thing up and then make it a requirement. You know, people could just copy it down. What's that? Well, kind of.
It's multiple choice. Okay.
If you want to start, I don't know what the front and back is. I couldn't even tell on my own. It's stapled really weird. This is the page I'm going to put the answers up. So if you want to start on this, it's got the 50, the 4, and the 44. You might have thought the front was something. I don't know. I think this is the front, but you might not. That doesn't seem right, does it? Hold on.
Just because it's stapled.
Yeah, no, it is. It's not 44.6. That's not right. That's too big.
Uh,
6.68%. I won't be here Monday. We have the whole class to work on this and your con. I did. This just came up. You guys know what this means? Yeah, so if you get this number, this is the percentile for the second one. That E-4 means you move the decimal spot place back 4 spots. So you'd go like, you'd go here and go over. So there'd be 3 zeros in front. You could essentially just say 0 at that point. You can just round it to 0. Make sure you know what that means. That did not come up. How did I get what? I did normal CDF, negative 999, comma 44. Put in 50 and 4. Did you get something different? The empirical rule, so this is weird about the empirical rule. We spent like a day and a half on it, and now it's like useless basically. because the calculator does it more precisely. It's just to kind of get you used to the concept. Yeah. That happens a lot in math. Like, I teach something, and then, like, after doing it for 3 days, I'm like, okay, forget that. Now we can do.
Oh, right. Still that. Oh, no.
Where you at? What makes no sense? Well,
Yeah. Oh, where do I start? For number two.
I forgot what you have this, this, and this, right?
Yeah.
You gotta find standard deviation. That means you gotta use that formula. Plug it in, find standard deviation. And then I'll probably do the sketch. And once you have the sketch, I think you might be able to see better how to set that up. This is like exactly what I mean. Like, if I gave you this problem 3 days ago, you'd have done it in like 2 seconds. Yeah, exactly. And then when things get mixed up, it just gets harder. There's your front page of answers.